The dinner reservation that exposed everything. I've been with my boyfriend, Ethan, for 3 years, and we live together. Pretty stable, pretty boring, like couple that buys matching Tupperware boring. Until last Friday. I was at work when I got a confirmation text from a fancy restaurant saying, "Your table for 2 at 7 p.m. is confirmed. We look forward to seeing you and Emily." Emily? I am not Emily. At first I thought it was spam, until I saw the last 4 digits attached to the reservation. Ethan's phone number. I called him. No answer. Texted him. Nothing. But he posted on his story an hour later saying he was working late. So I did what any sane, rational girlfriend would do. I requested the Uber he uses. And guess where it was headed? The restaurant. By 6:45, I was sitting in my car across the street like a rejected FBI agent, heart pounding, palms sweating, mascara on point because if he was going to cheat, I was at least going to look hot when I caught him. At exactly 7:02 p.m., Ethan walked up. In a button-down, holding flowers. My stomach dropped. But then a woman walked toward him. Blonde, tall, red dress. They hugged. I actually felt my soul leave my body. But that wasn't even the worst part. When Ethan handed her the flowers, she started crying. Full-on breakdown. In his arms. I snapped a photo. I needed proof. I was about to get out of my car and confront them right there when suddenly Ethan stepped back, wiped her tears, and said something that made her gasp and cover her mouth. I couldn't hear it. But she nodded, then hugged him again. My heart was screaming cheater, cheater, liar, liar. Until Ethan turned around and walked straight toward my car. I panicked. I tried to hide the phone, wipe my face, act normal, but no. He knocked on my window. I rolled it down an inch. "You're cheating on me." He looked at me like I accused him of arson and tax fraud at the same time. "Baby, no. No, you don't understand." "Then explain." He looked back at the woman in the red dress, then leaned into my window and whispered, "She's not who you think. She's my." And just as he said the word, the woman's phone started ringing loudly. She answered, face turning white, eyes wide. Oh my God. They found out. Ethan froze. And that's where everything fell apart. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the little shiny object he slid across the table. Time felt weird, stretched, heavy, like I was underwater and the outside world was moving in a different speed. People passed behind me, cars rolled by. A kid dropped a juice box right next to my shoe, but my eyes were stuck on that table. On their hands. On the way he leaned in like he didn't have a girl at home, waking up early just to pack his lunch. I wanted to walk away. I wanted to pretend I didn't see any of it. But the problem with the truth is once you've seen it, your brain won't let you unsee it. It won't let you go back into denial, no matter how badly you want to crawl into ignorance and stay there. I wasn't even angry at first. I felt weirdly calm, like my body switched into survival mode before my thoughts caught up. My mind was cold and silent, like it shut off all emotion until it was safe to process it later. But I wasn't safe. Not in the way my heart needed. I kept watching until I felt the sting in my eyes. I realized I wasn't blinking. My vision blurred just enough that the table inside looked like it was underwater. I blinked to clear it, and that's when the second wave of reality hit me. It wasn't just that they were together. It wasn't just that they looked too comfortable. It wasn't even the shiny object, which, once I looked again, I realized wasn't a ring but a key. A key on a small black leather keychain with silver initials. Something he definitely hadn't given me. No. The part that hit next was how happy he looked. Truly happy. Relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in months. Maybe even years if I was being painfully honest. That smile he had on his face, the bright one, the one that wasn't forced or fake or reserved, I forgot what it looked like on him. But she hadn't. The realization didn't feel like a punch. It felt like a slow knife, a deep, twisting ache that settled somewhere under my ribs where I would probably feel it for days. Maybe longer. Maybe forever. I didn't want him back, that wasn't the ache. The ache was mourning the version of him I thought I had. The one I convinced myself still cared. I backed away from the window before he saw me. I don't think I could have handled his face if he looked up and locked eyes with me. Not yet. Not like that. Instead, I walked around the corner, leaned my back against the brick wall, and let myself breathe for the first time in what felt like an hour. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to sit down on the curb so I didn't collapse. I felt hollow, like someone scooped out my insides and left me with only the shell. People always talk about heartbreak like it's dramatic, screaming, crying on the floor, throwing things. Maybe some people do that. But for me, the first stage was numbness. Just pure numbness. I stared at my hands like they belonged to someone else. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket and didn't even check it. My brain was too busy replaying the image of his hand on hers. Eventually, the numbness cracked. Not all at once, just a thin fracture right down the middle. And through that crack came the anger. A quiet, simmering anger that warmed me just enough to get me back on my feet. I wasn't going to let him come home and act normal. I wasn't going to keep pretending not to see the truth. I decided I would confront him, not because I wanted to blow up at him, but because I deserved answers. Because I was done carrying the weight of his lies. I drove home before him. Every red light felt like punishment, but I made it back. I didn't sit inside. I waited in my car, parked across the street, watching the entrance like I was guarding something important. The sun started setting, painting the sky shades of orange and pink, which felt painfully ironic. The sky was beautiful, while my life felt like it was cracking. He came home just before dark. I watched him walk up the steps with the same dumb casualness he always had, hands in pockets, shoulders relaxed. Not a care in the world. Not even the slightest hint of guilt in his posture. If anything, he looked lighter. That made the anger spread. After he went in, I waited exactly 1 minute before walking up and unlocking the door. He was in the kitchen, texting someone with a half smile on his face. Probably her. Definitely her. He didn't even look up at first. It was strange to see someone you loved look so small so quickly. When he finally noticed me, he froze like a kid caught stealing candy. His phone lowered slowly, as if he thought moving gently would make the situation less explosive. He opened his mouth like he was going to make up some excuse, but I didn't give him the chance. I told him I knew. Not everything, just enough. I told him I saw them at the cafe. I told him I saw the way he held her hand. I told him I saw him sliding the key across the table. The more I spoke, the more his face changed. At first he looked confused, then embarrassed, then guilty, and then something else entirely, a kind of resignation like he'd been waiting for this moment. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I just stood there and said the truth out loud, and with each sentence, I felt a tiny piece of myself detach from him. When I finished, he finally spoke. Not to deny it, he wasn't stupid enough for that. But to confess. Slowly. Carefully. And the more he said, the more the numbness returned. He told me they hadn't just started talking recently. It had been going on far longer than I imagined. He said it wasn't supposed to happen, that it started as something harmless, that they didn't plan it, that they didn't mean for me to get hurt. All the predictable lines men use when they know there's no universe where they come out looking good. He said they connected. He said he felt misunderstood. He said she came into his life at a time when things were stressful. All the cliches. Every single one. But the worst part was when he admitted he'd planned on telling me soon. That the key was for her apartment. That he was thinking about ending things with me in a gentle way. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Nothing about it was funny. but because the idea that he thought there was any gentle way to break someone's heart like that felt ridiculous. He didn't protect me. He protected himself. He protected his comfort, his routine, his image. He tried to apologize. He stepped forward like he wanted to hug me, and for a second I felt the familiar ache of habit. Like my body almost leaned into him out of muscle memory. But I stepped back before he touched me. That tiny step felt like the biggest decision I'd made in years. I told him I needed him to pack a bag and leave for the night. He didn't argue. He didn't fight. He just lowered his head, grabbed what he needed, and walked out the door. When it shut, the silence hit me like a wave. Not the peaceful kind, the kind you feel after an explosion where everything is too still, too quiet, too unreal. I sank to the floor because my legs finally gave out. I pressed my hands over my face and sobbed in a way I didn't know I could sob, messy, loud, raw. All the numbness melted away, and everything I'd been holding inside came crashing through me. I cried until my throat felt scraped. I cried until my face hurt. I cried until I had nothing left in me but exhaustion. But something happens after the flood. Something subtle but powerful. You start to rebuild. Not all at once, just tiny pieces at a time. That night I slept on the couch. Not because the bed reminded me of him, but because the couch felt like neutral ground, a place where I could control the space. I woke up in the morning with a headache and puffy eyes, but for the first time in months, I didn't feel anxious. My heart still hurt, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was grief. And grief is survivable. Over the next few days, I did the things you're supposed to do. I changed the locks. I gathered his things into boxes and texted him to pick them up when I wasn't home. I blocked the girl because I didn't need to see her face, her posts, her quotes about finding happiness. I told my friends everything, and for once I didn't sugarcoat it. Every day, the ache got a little lighter. I learned how quiet the apartment actually was without the constant arguing or silent tension. I started eating better because I didn't have to wait on him. I slept deeper because I wasn't waking up wondering if he was lying to me. Little by little, I reinhabited my own life. One night, about a month later, I found myself parked near the same cafe. Not because I wanted to see them, I didn't, but because I needed closure in a weird, personal way. I walked past the window, glanced inside, and didn't feel a thing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just nothing. It was over. Completely over. And the best part was realizing that the ending didn't break me, it freed me. I thought the betrayal would define me. But instead, the recovery did. The rebuilding. The quiet strength that comes from being forced to pick up your own pieces. The relief of waking up without wondering who someone is texting or who they're thinking about. Healing didn't come from revenge or confrontation. It came from walking away. And I did. For good.